We had a moderate week in the portfolio this week, with the portfolio up £430 and we went up 0.9%. Overall, portfolio value of £48,064 with a total return of 12,569 and a rate of return of 105.4%. I'm really happy with the portfolio at the minute. I think it's moving in the right direction. This episode, I'm just going to cover some news, some stuff that happened this week, things that you need to pay attention to in the market, something coming up this week that could offer a massive buying opportunity. I'm going to go into what I'm likely to buy if that does happen. First of all, we need to look at the fear and greed index. Now, the market has hit extreme greed. Now, this always comes back to that quote, Warren Buffett quote that says, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when people are fearful. That's your bitch ass up. Now, extreme greed is something to be aware of, and it could indicate a sell-off coming up soon, especially with the news that Trump is pushing the new tariffs of up to 70% as the July 9th deadline nears.
Okay, everybody, now you see what this is? This is a bottle of
tariffs.
Cinnamon is some sort of a powder that you put into cakes and it makes them taste nice. That's fine. This is a tablespoonful of
tariffs.
Now,
he said that countries had 90 days. There was a pause on tariffs for 90 days. And now we're coming up to that deadline. And here we go. He's trying to create deals with other countries on these tariffs, and this could be a real catalyst for a deep drawdown. So let's have a look at some of the pending deals. Vietnam, a new agreement was announced on Wednesday, and Vietnamese exports will face a 20% tariff, while transshipped goods from other nations, notably China, could be taxed 40%. With Japan, talks have soured. Trump now proposes 30 to 35% tariffs on Japan. He slammed Japan as spoiled and suggested the country was resisting concession. European Union, the EU is willing to accept a 10% universal tariffs on many goods, but is negotiating exemptions for pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, alcohol, and aircraft. Trump, however, has threatened 50% tariffs on the EU imports, and talks are going to continue into the weekend. I did see something from Ursula von der Leyen saying that the 90-day deadline, she simply won't be able to hit that they don't think they're going to be able to hit the 90-day deadline. So we'll see what happens there. It could be another case of a major crash in the market due to all of these tariffs. So all of this could offer us a massive downturn again, like we saw in April. Probably not as harsh as we saw in April because it's less of a surprise to the market, but I do expect stocks on Monday probably to open a little lower. So that's tomorrow, and they probably will continue to go down throughout this week. I don't expect this week to be incredibly positive. However, last time I made those claims, the stock market went in the opposite direction after the whole Iran-Israel thing.
Stupid.
They're not.
Moving on. If we look at the market performance this year, we notice that the Mag 7 actually has underperformed the broader market. S&P 500 giving us a return of 5.38%, and the S&P 493, which is just the S&P 500 minus the Mag 7, giving us 7.67% return, and the Mag 7 only giving us 0.76% return. Now, this is probably due to the fact that Google is down year to date. I believe that Amazon is also down year to date. Apple's not doing too well either. The Mag 7 did have an incredible 2024, so this might be another reason. But I also think that the Mag 7 is a safer bet than the rest of the market right now. And considering that they haven't rushed up as much, they might be less affected by the huge tariff dips, although they were more heavily affected previously, as you can see here, by the tariff dip in April. Now, this news with the Mag 7 and news about the US dollar tumbling even further has really enticed me to put some more money into the market this week, especially as a UK investor. I know that my pound is going to buy more dollars worth of shares, so I'll be able to buy more shares, which will be great.
I am the one, the way your son don't.
The only thing you don't want to be doing at the minute is selling your shares and converting back for your dollars back into pounds, because you're going to have a big loss if you invested within the past 2-3 years.
Stupid.
So with those two pieces of news, I think that I'm going to buy a Magnificent 7 stock. And so which Magnificent 7 stock is a buy right now? Now, this is just a random article I pulled up that just goes along with my thesis because, why not? And they said Google, and that's what I'm saying as well. I'm not just copying this article.
Stop the cap.
They're copying me, right? They saw my YouTube video, okay? It's still trading at a really low price to earnings ratio. Now that might be a bit small on your screen, so I'll make it a bit larger, but the price to earnings ratio is under 20, and the forwards in the 2026 price to earnings is 17.66. So not even 18 price to earnings ratio on Google for 2026. Now, if we have a look, it's still a fast growing company with revenue going up 13% year over year, and revenue by segment has no signs. The Google search segment has no signs of slowing down in the data. They're growing year over year at 12% still, and over the 2 years at 11.43%. Now, until I start seeing this in the data, I don't think that I'm going to be too worried about Google. In other news, we have Volkswagen and Uber set to deploy robo-taxis. Now, recently, Volkswagen and Uber have been testing their robo-taxis. They have a really large VW van that I've heard you can actually bring a bicycle into this taxi, and you can still get about on your bicycle, which kind of doesn't, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense to me, but kind of doesn't at the same time, because what's the point in having a bicycle if you're getting in a Uber?
What?
I just wanted to highlight that Uber is making plays with robo-taxis all around the world at the minute, because let's have a look at this. Uber is also bringing forward trialing of the driverless taxis Wave in the UK. These are Wave, and I believe the cars are Ford, but Wave is a UK AI startup, and Uber and Wave have managed to convince the government to allow testing in London, and London is a really, really challenging place to test your cars out. If you can drive in London, you could probably drive anywhere in the world. Now, for Uber, London is one of the 5 key major cities, and it gets a lot of business from London, so this is a really important deal. So Uber will trial the robo-taxis with no human safety driver at the wheel in London next spring, which is quite different to Tesla, may I add. Just another thing with Google. Google has secured a deal with OpenAI. This is quite old news as well. Google has secured a deal with OpenAI to use its custom designed tensor processing units, so TPUs, for some of OpenAI's AI workloads. Now, these are just basically chips, custom designed chips by Google, and this again proves that they really are at the forefront of AI innovation, and they shouldn't be doubted. They shouldn't be so doubted, and they shouldn't be trading at such a low PE multiple. Now, I invested some more into Google recently. It was last week, and obviously now I'm thinking maybe I should have held off for the potential dip this coming week, but I'm going to be able to pull some more cash out of somewhere. Not really sure where.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
But I'll pull some more cash out of somewhere, and I will make another investment this week if the market dips, and it will most likely be into Google. Now, I do suspect that Google won't dip as much as some of the other stocks in the portfolio, just because they're already trading at quite a low PE ratio. But yeah, that about concludes the video. Hope you enjoyed. It's a short one. Tried to get one out this Sunday for you guys, and yeah, have a good week.
I'm hopping out Ferraris. My house is 3 stories. I'm still independent cause Jive couldn't afford me. The meetings were boring. For real, I was snoring. The VP was fine, yeah, she treated me kinda corny. But that's another story. Let's get back.